You think you've got my number figured out? A motive born in drought and brevity. And if I'm not the soul of your design, I blatantly decline your remedy. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine. Wasn't always just a single shade, a palette full of gray in reverie. And I can burn it brighter than the sun. I have a golden gun inside of me. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else. And if I fall behind, ignoring all the signs, if I lose the fight, I still rage against the night. Don't box I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine.
Welcome to the Wednesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Wednesday. Welcome, everybody. Ooh, did not mean to do that. All right. Howdy, folks. Welcome, everybody. Michael Hasser, good for Gabby. John, Lithium, Bruno, welcome. Rayanne, what does that mean? B-Cat, welcome. Michael Hassler, I don't know if I said hello. Flow Snake, welcome. Boku, welcome. Sevens, welcome. Alright, folks, let's get started. We have quite the amount of stuff to cover today. So let's get started, folks. If you want to support the channel, there are many different ways of doing so. Do all the things and click all the stuff, the likes, the shares, the subs, and all the stuff. Thank you all for being here. Let's get started, folks. Stuff and things are happening, and it's not really. We don't have really good news on that one. Well, we had some
pretty significant.
We don't really have good news on that front, unfortunately.
Significant elections take place tonight in the state of Illinois. Specifically, there were multiple Democratic Party primaries, and in a word, they were disastrous. I don't know how else to describe it. Basically, it was the worst case scenario across the board. Multiple progressives got wiped out, progressives split the vote, and AIPAC is now doing a victory lap online. Literally, they tweeted out, being endorsed by Bernie Sanders, Ro Khanna, Justice Dems, and Sunrise Movement was a kiss of death in Illinois. Democratic voters rejected their extreme anti-Israel candidates, instead choosing mainstream candidates. AIPAC is proud to help defeat six...
Seth on shorts? No, I just saw them. Soul Life, yes. You have been acknowledged. What's up, losers? It's I, your favorite president on Truth Social. On behalf of my hillbilly supporters asking me that it's time to investigate Pam Bondi. Thank you for your attention to this matter. When you notice of one of Mike's wall books slightly crooked, oh no, is it? Really? It is. Just a little bit, though. There's a TY Twitch civil war going on, apparently. I'm not aware of this.
AIPAC is now doing a victory lap online. Literally, they tweeted out, being endorsed by Bernie Sanders, Ro Khanna, Justice Dems, and Sunrise Movement was a kiss of death in Illinois. Democratic voters rejected their extreme anti-Israel candidates, instead choosing mainstream candidates. AIPAC is proud to help defeat 6 would-be squad members tonight. Yeah, so that kind of just goes to show you how the night went. And it's interesting that they talk about defeating anti-Israel candidates because the individuals that they backed, well, they didn't actually mention Israel at all. They were attacking some of them from the left. They know that Israel is toxic because the Democratic Party base doesn't support Israel anymore. So they had to pretend like that wasn't the main issue in this race or a dividing line in the Democratic Party. And they had to create shell packs to endorse candidates through proxies, like elect Chicago women, because if voters saw that...
I want lemon pound cake. I'm not a big fan, I'm going to be honest. Of how AIPAC loves to praise their genocide campaign. Yep.
Was AIPAC, then...
Pom Bandy is fun, but Tuck Chod is better.
they would run away from that. But there's a lot of really clear lessons to be learned from multiple races tonight, and we're going to get to that. And quite frankly, I'm fucking pissed off. Like, I'll just be honest. I'm fucking pissed off because this result was entirely avoidable. So let's start with the first race in the 8th Congressional District of Illinois. And I'm just going to read this headline that explains the result. AIPAC, AI Money, propels Melissa Bean to comeback victory in Illinois. Now, when you look at the results, she beat her progressive challenger, who was endorsed by Bernie Sanders, Junaid Ahmed, by 5.1 points. But if you go down, there was also Yasmin Bankole, who is another progressive.
Ladybug, welcome. Why is this legal? I don't know. It's a good question. The third Archon, thank you for the subscription. Appreciate it. Thank you. Why is this? This is why Illinois must do their math instead of being dumbasses and voting billionaire. Do not think candidates on either Democrat or Republican. You can all thank the effing boomers for this. I was in the shorts purgatory. Oh, well, there you go.
Progressive. She got 9.6% of the vote, but both progressives lost. Now, pivoting to the race that a lot of people were watching, which is the 9th Congressional District, there was so much money being poured into this race. Bernie Sanders did not endorse, although Rashida Tlaib as well as Ilhan Omar did. AOC also did not endorse in this race, but this is the race with Kat Abu-Ghazaleh. And the result was not good and incredibly disappointing because she was this close. So Daniel Biss, the J Street-backed corporate Democrat, he beat Kat Abu-Ghazaleh by 3.6 points. Mike Simmons, another progressive in the race, got 7.1%, and Bushra Amiwala got 5.1%, another progressive in the race. Now, there was a lot going on in this race. Daniel Biss was accused of having an inappropriate relationship with a student just a couple of days before the election. Kat Abu-Ghazaleh was being...
Saris, welcome. Just imagine a William Dafoe looking up meme. That's me. Oh my God. Atomization happens through the purity tests.
Attacked by an organization that was funded by dark money donors, and they were paying influencers such as the Woke Ginger, allegedly, $1,500 to attack Kat Abu-Ghazaleh. There was a lot of AIPAC money pouring in. AIPAC was supporting a progressive candidate through an ad in order to split the vote among progressives. And there was a lot taking place, but the result really didn't have to be this way. On one hand, you could say it's great because AIPAC's preferred candidate, Laura Fine, ended up coming in third place, but we could have had a better result where the progressive, or at least a progressive, won, but it didn't happen because apparently progressives in this particular campaign or in this district, they don't know how the fuck to do math. Right. And I have to say it because you can see these results. So if Mike Simmons or if Bushra Amiwala, if any one of them chose to drop out and endorse Kat Abu-Ghazaleh, then odds are she would have been able to defeat Daniel Biss. If they both would have dropped out like a month before the election took place and campaigned for Kat Abu-Ghazaleh, then she would have beat him handily. And I would have expected Kat to do the same if one of them were in the lead, but they all chose to not drop out. In fact, Bushra Amiwala remained defiant and said that she's not dropping out after there was a new poll release showing that Kat was in second place.
After deep reflection and a lot of careful consideration.
Yeah, no doubt about it. What sometimes gets called purity testing is much needed consensus and clarity building on shared values to even have a coherent, effective movement. And sometimes it's just people being smug online. Yeah. Saris, welcome. The ginger guy blocked me super quick. None of this should be legal. Yep. The lack of sufficient actual coming together to make hard decisions about shared values and the sacrifices we will actually make to achieve the practical means we will institute voluntarily on ourselves and each other to hold ourselves accountable to actual vision for change with any legs. None of this should be legal? Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, to begin with, yeah.
Made by my team, we've decided it made a lot of sense to make this video. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, so she decided to stay in, even though she knew that it could risk splitting votes. And guess what happened? AIPAC released an ad supporting her, saying how progressive she was. Now, they don't actually support her, but what AIPAC was trying to do was split the progressive vote. And even though she condemned it, she didn't do the thing that she needed to do to help the progressive win. Neither did Mike Simmons, and the same is true for the race with Melissa Bean. If both of the progressives got together and agreed, hey, maybe we should drop out and endorse the other depending on who's in the lead, so that way we don't split the...
Yeah, I think, like, I think, honestly, like, that's... What Mike is saying is, like, pretty true, right? There was, like, zero coordination there, right? Like, there was zero coordination to try to actually get the most viable, the most progressive candidate that was viable. It just couldn't that coalition didn't materialize. When it very easily could have, which should be outlawed as boomers that vote for Israel supporting Kiss-ass candidates. I mean that too, but I mean, like, it just feels like that race was so close. It feels like that race was so close that, like, man, if there was maybe some coordination there and some solidarity a little bit, perhaps that race in particular may have had a different outcome. It's not obviously guaranteed, and I can't really say that because that's not what happened. But, you know, in the alternate universe where those other two candidates may have dropped and put their support and push their voters to try to coalesce around a more viable, or around the most progressive candidate that had an actual chance, that may have altered the results. That's all. And I think that is a fair analysis by Mike there.
Vote, then that could have been a different result as well, because the margins are very close, right? So in the event we had progressives who actually knew how to do math, they would have possibly turned out a victory here. But now, not only did the voters fuck up by choosing the most milquetoast candidates in the 8th district, I mean, they voted for the AIPAC AI-backed candidate, so great job, voters. If you complain about fascism, well, you have nobody to blame but yourselves, because candidates like Melissa Bean are exactly why voters feel disillusioned with the system and why fascists end up winning, so great fucking job. But I also have to blame...
Yeah, I mean, like, but also, look, okay, I get that we should, as progressives, try to be as, like, educated as possible when we're doing, like, the voting aspect of this, but really it's like, you know, the people that are doing these campaigns, right? Like the candidates and people around them doing the campaigns, like they have like the most to blame, right? Like this is their campaign. They're the ones that are putting their hat in the ring and possibly altering the future of the country. So I feel like maybe more responsibility lies on the people that are running these campaigns to say, like, hey, wait a minute, you know, we have this candidate that is not gonna win at all. Like, there's no chance of that candidate winning, versus we have a candidate that's pretty close. We can take out this AIPAC backed dude, and all we have to do is make the decision to kind of rally around the one candidate, instead of torpedoing the whole thing and everybody loses. So just to be clear, like a corporate Democrat winning is not good. Nobody wins there. Like, where who wins in the situation, right? Who wins in this situation? I'd rather blame the boomers. Nah. There's a couple of things to blame, but the boomers aren't just the only problem here.
Progressives here, because this was very clearly avoidable. Going forward, we need to understand that if candidates running for office,
like, this isn't a freaking game, man. Like, like, seriously, like, this isn't a game. This isn't like 2016 anymore or prior. Okay, like this is not a game. When you have the opportunity to get a somewhat progressive a somewhat progressive candidate to win against a corporate APAC Democrat, I mean, like, that is this is do or die, folks. Like, everybody's kind of has to coalesce and be united behind the best viable candidate. It's on her and it's on the DNC. I mean, the DNC also is not great at all. Useless, actually. A candidate not backing down because the other progressive choice was only second in polling. Yeah, there's a lot of things that went wrong, but I see and I understand what Mike's analysis is here.
Are in a race where there's multiple progressives. I mean, in the 9th district, there were like 15, 16 candidates and multiple progressives. So if you have overlapping policy platforms, you all need to get together and agree. Whoever ends up coming the closest about a month before the race takes place, we've got to drop out and coalesce behind that candidate, because this is bigger than our campaigns. This is about making sure that we defeat the establishment APAC-backed candidate, but none of these candidates wanted to do that, presumably. They were defiant and chose to fuck everyone over because their egos were, I guess, too big. Now, listen, I don't believe that anyone is entitled to a particular seat. It's not like they, were required to...
Gen X are just kind of fun, as we hardly ever get blamed, but seriously, I'm not a fan of generation-related bigotry. True. I feel that, Flow Snake. It's kind of on the left, too. I heard lots of left podcasters leave Cat's back at the end. Hearing lefties spew APAC talking points versus Cat.
Pave the way for Cat Abu-Ghazaleh, but if I were running for office and I genuinely cared about all of these policies and I wanted to see them enacted, I would have to acknowledge that maybe I should sacrifice my campaign, even though we worked hard, my staff worked hard, for the movement in a show of solidarity, so we make sure that the corporate Democrat doesn't win. But apparently that thought didn't cross anyone's mind. And it's not like I'm picking on like Bushra Amiwala and Mike Simmons because I dislike them. In fact, I probably agree more with Bushra's foreign policy than I do Kat's. But it's just a matter of like, who has the best chance of winning? Okay, that's the person who we should all...
Yeah, and also like by showing like solidarity and like trying to unite and trying to unite like the progressive camps, perhaps there might have even been a more positive sway, because like unlike Republicans, or unlike the more corporate Democrats, you could push someone like Cat Abu-Ghazaleh to your positions, right? In the areas that you disagree with, right? You could push. You could probably have more influence. You could probably have more influence as someone who maybe like dropped out of the race and backed her, and try to have some sway over what policy positions she may bring to the table if she wins Congress, right? Like this is all like strategic things that you could have possibly done to try to like advance the movement. Mike from PA pissed me off. I mean, Mike from PA is, yeah. Even if he came around at the end, but it was wholly unnecessary. A sweeping generalization based on immutable characteristics, if not bigotry, one would call it. Yeah. And so the right is crying foul that your favorite president kicked ass again. Now if the crazy do-nothing Democrats like cuck scumbag do the Republican Party a favor and get canceled,
strategically choose to back. Because, you know, long gone are the days where it's like, hey, we had a moral victory. Isn't it great to see all these progressives running for Congress? You know, we never had this many progressives, so I guess we could take it as a moral victory that we have so many great options. No, fuck that. I want to win. But apparently nobody else wants to win. Like, we're just going to keep splitting votes like fucking dipshits. I'm sorry. Like, I'm trying not to be a dick. I'm getting more pissed off as I talk, but we keep fucking doing this, and we need to, going forward, remember every single progressive who's running for Congress that chooses to stay in the race to the detriment of the entire movement. If I saw AIPAC endorsing me, doing an ad for me, I wouldn't just like denounce that and say, hey, fuck AIPAC. I would make sure that I wasn't being used as a useful idiot for a genocidal organization. But I guess that's too much to ask these days, right? People care more about their egos and their own sense of like entitlement than the broader movement. Like, sure, it's great. You have a phenomenal policy. Awesome. But do you care more about like yourself or the broader cause, getting Medicare for all, stopping genocide? Because it really seems like so many people are running for self-aggrandizement. I don't give a fuck about you individually, okay? You could run for Congress, awesome, I love you, thanks for doing that, but I don't give a fuck about you. I care about the policies, and until we all adopt that mindset and disavow the selfishness and think about the broader movement, we're not going to get nowhere. We're going to get our fucking cheeks clapped by centrists in perpetuity because we're so fucking stubborn and refuse to realize that, hey, maybe we should put aside our differences with candidates that agree with us on 99% of things. Other progressives.
Oh my God, Mike is bringing out the belt, man. We're all getting a talking to.
And endorse them so the fucking centrist doesn't win. I mean, is that too much to ask? Am I being unreasonable here? Another thing to ask is, why wasn't Bernie and AOC in this race? Why wasn't the DSA endorsing Kat? I don't understand why they didn't get involved when she was very clearly a candidate who had the ability to win. Why did we just choose to not get involved? Why didn't she do more to court their endorsement?
I mean, yeah, just to be clear, like, all of these are very fair points. Yeah, Mike from PA also helped split the vote. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, how much... Look, despite Mike being wrong, obviously, I'm not a big fan of Mike from PA, but whatever. That's not the point. I don't know, like, how much any one of us can actually do damage. I mean, like, it would have to be like a it would have to be like a coercion between, like, not just Mike from PA, but like across like a big you know, a big left wing, like, you know, swing, right? Like, it would just, I don't know if Mike from PA by himself or like anyone, even someone that's kind of like bigger than Mike from PA. Like, I don't know, is Mike bigger than Mike? Is this Mike bigger than Mike from PA? I think he is, like, in terms of audience. I don't, if the Humanist Report said, like, you should split the vote, right? Like, I don't know how much that would actually, like, just one person is what I'm trying to say. I don't think is enough. One influencer, one streamer is not enough. Not really. Bernie don't care. Yeah, apparently it was too much to ask for Bernie. Which, look, I love Bernie, but man, the times, man. Like, maybe Bernie's just old and tired, and he's just done. And he's just trying to, like, you know, survive because he's kind of getting up there in age. But, like, man, opinions on Mike from PA are a mixed bag. Some chatters like him, some don't. I remember seeing him once and I didn't like what I was seeing, but I can't remember more than that. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Mike from PA. It wasn't just one person. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if it's more than one person and it's like a bunch of you know, coordinated left-wing media people saying that you should split the vote or whatever, then yeah, you could make the argument that maybe these influencers had maybe these influencers had a say in that. You know what I mean? I give a shit about Mike from PA. I'll never give him a view. That's fair. I'm done to say the APAC tanky axis, but I don't really understand the US meaning of tanky, and the British meaning is quite specific. They support the USSR invasion of Hungary 56 and 68. Maybe he's just resting. Sleepy Bernie! Didn't Sam Cedar call Mike from PA a friend of the show once? I mean, at one point, I think. At one point. Never just any man from Pennsylvania. Without actually offering that I've seen with any indication of it's virtually always just a way of saying now you went too far left from its supposed fellow leftists without actually offering any analysis or substance in support of said assertions.
Why did Kat herself make so many mistakes? I mean, at the last hour, she fired a foreign policy advisor, which I don't know why a candidate would need a foreign policy advisor, because like we want to know about your views and not the views that are inserted into your head by a foreign policy advisor. But she fired this Zionist foreign policy advisor who said that she was interventionist, and she had some crazy fucking shit on her platform like, oh, I want to end the United States' strategic ambiguity with regard to China and Taiwan. Basically, I want to be more right-wing on the issue of China-Taiwan than like Republicans. And she had to take down her whole foreign policy page because this person apparently wrote her foreign policy platform for her, and then she ended up disavowing those views. I genuinely don't even know where she stands. I know she's against genocide, but like broadly speaking, you need to write your own policy platform. Why are progressives hiring these individuals who are usually consultants who come from other corporate Democrat campaigns? Why are we hiring them exactly? So like that's a fuck up on Kat's part. But again, like she was very clearly one of the progressives who could have won. So putting aside all the differences and, critiques that I have with her, she very clearly would have been a very good member of Congress, a progressive member of Congress akin to AOC, Rashida Tlaib.
Presumably, right? It didn't happen.
We saw what happened. So I guess I'll end by saying, if you plan to run for Congress anytime soon, make sure you know how to do math. If there's a progressive running in the same race as you and they have a chance of winning and you don't, you need to drop the fuck out and endorse them. There's a reason why New York progressives have been so successful. Now, also, they had ranked choice voting in New York, which is different. Like, if there was ranked choice voting, it wouldn't make a difference. But if you are in a winner-take-all district, then you really are being extremely selfish. And it's worth pointing out that AIPAC is doing more to attack candidates from the left, right? So a lot of these candidates, I'm going to be looking at them with side eye if they have this progressive platform and they come out of nowhere and they're taking up like 5-6%. But there's another progressive and they could endorse that individual, but they're staying at the race. Like, I'm going to view them as basically an op for AIPAC, either wittingly or unwittingly, because what they're doing is the bidding of the establishment and the bidding of AIPAC. So there's not much left to say. Just, if you're going to run for Congress, do math and don't fucking split the votes like a moron.
Man. Mike came out with the belt, man. Mike came out with the belt. I was 99% sure Cat was gonna win until 2 weeks ago. Mike came out to beat the hell out of the Apex supporters. I want YouTube creators to be more like Riverboat Jack, how she tells people to touch grass, volunteer, and stuff. Phone banking for Cat, and not even her strongest supporters wanted to volunteer. I mean, I'm a big fan of Riverboat Jack. She's phenomenal. I'm a big fan. And I agree. Things are going so great, folks. You know, the tremendous fan, the biggest, you might say. Many people are saying, you know, A Difficult Truth loves Riverboat Jack. You know, maybe many people are saying, who told him about the Jones Act? Yeah. Sorry to hear that, B-Cat. Just catching up on chat. Trump is the stupidest POTUS ever. Yes, but also very dangerous, right? Like, he's not just a moron. He's incredibly dangerous. I always have to, like, caveat that. Like, yes, he's an absolute moron. He has no idea half the time of the things he's talking about. Incoherent, very, very, very incapable. That all being said, he's also incredibly dangerous and enables incredibly dangerous people, right? Like, worse than him just being dangerous and incompetent, he enables and allows actual dangerous people to do things, right? Like your Stephen Millers and whatnot. Yeah. People around Anna, welcome to people around Trump worry me more than Trump. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. I am disappointed and shocked and disappointed you aren't following the Afroman. Why did you eat my 11-pound cake trial? Really? Like, I vaguely heard about something about Afroman, but I'm gonna be honest, I have no real details on that one. I think polls are usually pretty accurate. I think so too. I think that, like, it's not just like taking like one poll. It's more or less like looking at where the trends are going with regards to polling, right? Like, and if you see that your candidate is like plus or minus within the margin of error, that's not usually good for the Democratic candidate. But more or less, you can kind of gauge where things are going based on like the aggregate polling on multiple polls, and you can start seeing where the trend is. It's not that like one specific poll or another is good or bad. It's just a matter of like compressing that data and just kind of seeing where the trend goes. But yeah, if you think a candidate is going to win, check out their phone banking, see how many people are on the calls, and check to see if they're reaching people or just calling the same 20 folks over and over again. Yeah, I mean, phone banking, all that stuff is something that we should be doing for progressive candidates. I have a question for the woke, good, difficult truth. Your favorite president, me, wants to know who the hell is Riverboat Jack. You know, she's a fantastic streamer. You know, many people may not know who Riverboat Jack. She is so great. You know, many people are saying she has the biggest stream. Izoran pulled very high, but his win margin was not super duper high. Yeah, but it was comfortable, right? Like the aggregate data was like, okay, this guy's definitely gonna win. It seems to me like the polls are coalescing around a result. Not that it's always 100%, but it can give you a nice overview of what exactly of what exactly is happening on the ground. But yeah. It's not regarded. I'm not like the biggest Van Halen fan. I've listened to like some of their stuff, but yeah, not the biggest fan. Especially now, Terp seems more confused by the day. I think it's dawning on him at some level that he really messed up with the Iran special military operation and it's seriously frying his synapses. Yep. It's comfortable for sure, but the polling made it look like he was gonna get Putin numbers. Yeah. I mean, you can just, like I said, you can just kind of grasp based on like what the trend is saying, and it's like, okay, this guy is like +5. Okay, it is very likely that once you cross over like a threshold of, I would say like anywhere from +5 to like double digits, it's like, okay, that dude is probably gonna win the election, right? Like regardless. I hope the stress really gets to him. Yeah, he just should take a little more filet fishes. Panama! I think it's because the lead singer sucked. I don't know Van Halen though. I mean, he's like a good guitar player. Nothing like... they're good musicians, right? Like individually. There's nothing wrong with the band. I just didn't really like them, honestly. I didn't really listen to much Van Halen. It just didn't stick with me. It is what it is. You know, I'm not saying, like, I'm not shitting on them for being bad musicians, right? Like the guitarist and the drummer and the singer and whatnot. Like, they're not bad musicians per se. It's just the songs and the band just never stuck with me, you know? It just never did, you know. The problem that I have with the leftists, /Dems, is that they treat something being in the margin of error the same as leftists being ahead. No, yeah, that is a mistake. That is a mistake. If you see a Democrat, okay, then this only applies to like Dem candidates because that's just the way it goes. If you see a Dem candidate within the margin of error, that is a losing battle, okay? That is a coin flip in the favor of Republicans, and you have to like acknowledge that and read those polls as such, right? Because I mean, look at the Hillary Clinton race, right? The Hillary Clinton race was within the margin of error, and she didn't lose by a lot, but it was within the margin of error. People were complaining about the polls, but in reality, it was close. The same thing with Kamala Harris. The polls indicated that this could have been it was a pretty close race as far as like the popular vote, within the margin of error, which usually kind of indicates that there's problems right there. If you have a Democratic candidate that's polling within the margin of error, not good. It's not a great proposition. Election polling has sucked over the past few years too. I mean, like I said, it's not just like you have to kind of take the trends of where the data is taking you, versus just like too hyper focused on like individual polling, right? Isn't Sammy Hagar a friend of Joe Rogan, or am I misremembering? I have no idea, but if so, then it makes more sense as to why Van Halen never really stuck with me. Anyways, so yeah, like that's kind of my take, and I've had the same take about polling since forever ago. Like, yeah, the polling isn't really like that bad. It's just understanding that you're not gonna have to take like individual polls as gospel, and you kind of just have to track the trend of where it's going, and not just ignore that trend either, right? Like that is a mistake too. Like if you're trending in the negative and you're like, oh well, I'm just in the margin of error, that is not good. Okay, like, oh, just don't listen to polling. Don't listen to polling. No, that's not. It's a matter of just kind of seeing where the wind is blowing, right? Like that's what polling is used for. I remember when boomers from Fallout had way more prominence in my life. Wait a minute. Wait. If I play Fallout, does that mean I'm a boomer? We have cool boomers in our community, plus boomers, a state of mind. True. I play Fallout 4. Does that make me a boomer? I don't know. I've been going backwards on Fallout. I just started a playthrough of the OG Fallout 3. I haven't gotten very far. It's something that I've had for years, and I just I just started, and they're planning a re-release, so maybe I'll be done by then, but who knows. We're the boomers in Fallout 3 or New Vegas. I haven't played New Vegas either. Another one that intrigues me. You play Fallout? Unk status. Oof. Unk status. Look at that. Doesn't take a weatherman to see which way the winds are blowing. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I think it's something with wealth and income thing. I think living in the suburbs fries people's brains. And a lot of upper middle class boomers are suburban lifers. Yep. The boomers are an isolationist tribe occupying now its Air Force Base in the Mojave Wasteland in 2281. The boomers are a tribe formed out of Vault Dwellers who originally inhabited Vault 34. Oh, gotcha. I think I played Fallout 3. I used my ogre guy to carry inventory so I can sell it, and I was rich. I was decked out mansion and everything. Nice. Nice. I don't think I ever... Was that Fallout 4? Or do you have companions in Fallout 3? I haven't played, okay? Not that far in Fallout 3. But there is a super mutant follower in Fallout 4. I mean, I just hanged out with the press, the reporter lady. But anyways... Alright, folks, let's get through some of these, headlines. I'm literally an onk, so no shame there. That could have been 4. Yeah, possibly, because 4 you have, oh man, I forgot his name. The super mutant. I think his name starts with a B. I won't tell you about the Fallout 3 ending then. That would be nice. No spoilers on a game that's like probably like, what, 20 years old at this point? I'm not even going to try to do the math on that one. I hope it's not Bryce. It's not Bryce. If I told you, I would be lying. If I told you, I'd be lying. Actually, I can just Google it. There's 13 companions? Holy crap. I never got like half of these. Oh, his name is Strong. Like literally, his name is just Strong. Anyways. The Dow is not over 50,000. Don't pay attention to the Dow. Fresh 2026 low. And they all have names that starts with a B. No, this one was way off. I was way off on this one. Why haven't you shared the stream yet? Good question. I thought I did. No, I'm kidding. I don't have the ability to do that right now. I like Strong a lot. I only had the big ogre looking guy. Yeah, it's Strong. That's his name. Like literally, his name is just Strong. That's probably why you gave him all your stuff, because he has the ability to carry a bunch of stuff. But yeah, personally, I like the reporter lady. And that's who I used to do this, to do my missions and whatnot. Anyways, Sick Puppy, how's it going? Do you mind if I ask what browser you're using? It looks good. Honestly, it's just Google Chrome. The thing is, like, this, it's kind of hidden with like a it's kind of hidden with like a thing, an overlay on top of the thing. But it's just Google Chrome. So that's why it looks a little bit different, because it's blown up. Like I have it I've blew it up a little bit, like the page, and that's about it. Piper was a fun character, I agree. I like Dog and Boone. Oh yeah, Dogmeat. Dogmeat was another one. Dogmeat was my homie for a while. Dogmeat was my homie. As soon as I was able to find Dogmeat, I'd take him with me. Dogmeat is a boss. Yeah, why haven't you shared this yet? Trump waves. You can't have. Can't you have the dog follower in addition to any other? I think you have to mod it. I think you have to mod it, or maybe I'm misremembering. I'm misremembering. It's been a while since I've done Fallout 4. But you can mod it to have multiple followers. Switch to Firefox or a Chromium-based browser with a modified manifest versus I mean, Chrome is good. It's just it's just Google, but you know. Fred Armisen's character is my favorite. Firefox is better against the surveillance state. Yeah, Firefox is good. It has its advantages. Also, the main character is way too skinny for living in a decent vault. I still have Firefox, but now it's so heavy that I use Brave's not as good, but it works better for my computer. I mean, Brave is another one. There's a couple of browsers that are more like information friendly. Brave is one that also pops up frequently. The carcinization of Fallout is how no matter how you start your builds, converge on stealth crit sniper is the optimal, much like how Skyrim convergence of all builds on the stealth archer. I only comment on Fallout lore in the show. I've never played the game. It's a decent game. Back when Bethesda more or less was a decent back when this Bethesda was giving us actual like good games. Never played Fallout, has been a strictly Elder Scrolls person. I mean, it's like it is like Elder Scrolls, just with just in like a post nuclear winter, you know, apocalypse, because of capitalism gone horribly wrong. So yeah. I heard Oblivion is good, but the graphics are kind of hard for me to look at. I mean, they did a remaster. You know, you want to check that out, but yeah, I mean, I could see that. Fallout 4 had all the elements of being a truly great game that never quite fully came together. I agree. And I get really annoyed that you had to buy like extra content. That was a big problem for me. And it fleshed out the whole building and defense settlement system into whole aligning with your chosen faction and painting and map painting sort of the same sort of system. The remaster looks good, still has bugs of the original. Fantastic. Well, it looks like we're heading towards a depression according to the breaking news ticker. Oh, yeah, no, everything is fine, folks. Don't look too much into it. Everything is fine. New Vegas holds the crown of the ones I've played, at least. Yeah, this is fine economy. Fallout always has to do a weird Disney thing where they give the blatantly correct side some random violent, extremist tendencies. Yep. Fake news! I like the fact that all games require internet these days and they're released half-finished. Yep. Yep. The kernel level anti-cheats on PC are also ridiculous. Yeah, because if they solve that on Linux, right? If they solve that on Linux, then it's like GG's. I'm going to Linux, folks. The moment that happens, I mean, you could still get a lot out of like Bazite and SteamOS and CatchyOS, but like, yeah. I'll never give Nintendo $1. I can just emulate their games anyways. I'm a Linux gamer, but I don't play online multiplayer games. I play some, so it's like it kind of hamstrings me. It kind of hamstrings me. If I was just like playing, if I didn't need the multiplayer, I would just most likely be on SteamOS, honestly, or the variant of it. No choice of Caesar's Legion, just with bewildering biggest RP critique maybe of New Vegas. I definitely have to check that out. The central storyline, moral choice, although technically you have some nuance with Independent Vegas. Nova and I think Brother, maybe Dell are now making Linux default OS. You have to buy Windows install if you want Windows. Alright folks, we gotta power through some of this. We don't have that many headlines, but we'll get through it. Manda, welcome. Don't worry about the economy. It can only good happen. My bigly rich, definitely not loser friends. Tell me so. I'll make sure the pros can eat in 2 weeks. Thank you for your attention to this matter. You know, we had such big numbers, but Joe Biden, you know, this is all Joe Biden's fault. Trump waives the Jones Act shipping rules for 60 days to steady the oil market. Yeah. Things are going so great. President Trump issued a 60-day waiver of the long-standing U.S. shipping law in an attempt to stabilize oil markets amid the Iran war, which he started. The White House confirmed to CNBC on Wednesday the temporary suspension of the Jones Act will allow vital resources like oil, natural gas, fertilizer, and coal to flow freely to the U.S. port for 60 days. The Trump administration remains committed to continuing to strengthen our critical supply chains, which again, just a reminder, the only reason why we're in this predicament in the first place is because he decided to start a war with Iran at the behest of Israel. The Jones Act, which was signed in 1920 by then President Woodrow Wilson, requires the transport of goods between U.S. ports must be conducted by a U.S. vessel. The law was intended as an effort to grow the domestic shipping industry after World War I. The statute had been criticized as a form of protectionism, and some economists have argued that it impedes domestic trade. Trump's 2-month waiver was announced as oil prices resumed their rise due to the Iran war, which again he started in which major energy infrastructure has come under attack, and the Strait of Hormuz has been effectively closed. Again, it's still still closed, by the way. Trump in recent days has vented his frustration with U.S. allies over their reluctance to help secure the strait, a vital global oil shipping route that is all but shut down under the threats from Iran's military. The president at the time has asserted that the U.S. does not need any help with its ongoing operations against Iran because everyone told them to F off and deal with your own mess. Nadia, welcome. Oh, it's all good. We've just been video game talking, so don't worry. Brent prices, the international benchmark for the international bank benchmark rose 3.83% on Wednesday to close at $107 per barrel, which is fantastic. U.S. prices ended the day nearly unchanged at 96.32 per barrel. There are fewer than 100 Jones Act compliant vessels, according to Dalip Singh, the global chief economist at asset manager PGIM. So waiving the law frees up many more international tankers to fuel between U.S. ports, but the impact of suspending the act may nevertheless be limited. That's because of a mismatch in which most U.S. refineries are built to process Middle Eastern crude, while the U.S. mainly produces a lighter shale oil. But plainly, the U.S. can now move fuel around more easily, but it can't refine enough what it produces for self-sufficiency. That's great, fantastic stuff. The funniest thing to me are the European countries joining in with this BS to the extent that they have. Yeah. It's just not like for imperialist vermin starting wars of aggression. That's the final Iranian government position. Yep. Who told him about the Jones Act? Stephen Miller, probably. You know, if your favorite president was born in 1920, I would have been the oldest president serving office at 126 years old. You know, can you imagine? You know, many people are saying that maybe I should live that long. They said, sir, you're doing such a great job. You should live to 126 years old, you know. That's why I thought the Jones Act was about shipbuilding in the U.S., because that was the original intention. Now I get why I was confused. The Jim Jones Act? No. And Stephen Miller is chief suspect. Yep. A coalition of 9 maritime labor groups later Wednesday said they are deeply concerned about the Jones Act suspension. The broad waiver undermines their national security, weakens military readiness, and hands critical maritime work to foreign vessel operators, group said in a joint statement. They also argued that the move will not meaningfully lower gas prices. It had been plainly shown that the primary driver of gasoline remains the global cost of crude oil, and multiple analyses demonstrate that domestic shipping account for less than 1 cent per gallon. Oh my goodness, this is, you know, we're doing great. We're doing fantastic. Stephen Miller is one of the most prolific oxygen thieves of all time. Facts. Many people are saying, build the golden throne. Not me, but many people are saying this, you know. They said, sir, we need a golden throne. Yeah, Gymnasium, Jordan. We're doing so great, folks. You know, we're doing fantastic. Everything is fine. The Iran war, it's doing great. We're making moves. We're making moves. Iran war has U.S. farmers worried about the cost and availability of fertilizer. Blair literally has imaginary friends. Thank you for the follow. Nice. Yes, sir, you're simply too valuable. We must sacrifice the lives of 1,000 telepaths a day to preserve your crumbling earthly form, sir. I said, that's terrible, but you know, we have to do what we have to do. We're doing so great. Tennessee farmer Todd Littleton expects to pay $100,000 more for fertilizer this season, a 40% spike from his bill last year, thanks to the war in Iran, and he is scrambling to cover that extra cost. Anyone want to take a guess as to who he probably voted for? The problem is we're so strained financially coming into this issue, said Littleton, a third-generation farmer from Gibson County in the state's northwest corner. We have a handful of record losses in the last couple of years, so everyone's kind of grabbing at straws anyway, and to have input price increase yet again, it really couldn't happen at the worst time. Littleton, who grows corn, soybean, and wheat, is among the thousands of farmers across the country who will pay far more this spring for than they expected for fertilizer that is essential to their crops. Nitrogen-based fertilizers, especially vital for corn, usually the largest crop in the U.S., and the one that feeds the nation's livestock and is converted into fuel that helps power most U.S. cars and trucks. Fantastic. Farmers have complained about the costly fertilizer for years, but prices have soared even higher since the U.S. and Israel attacked Iran on February 28th, leading to a slowdown in shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point for 20% of the world's oil and natural gas. Besides increasing the price of fuel, which is key to the production of the fertilizer, the shipping disruption also stopped the export of nitrogen fertilizer manufactured in the Persian Gulf and limited access to key fertilizer ingredients. Yeah. Most of the farmers indeed voted for Trump. And like, these are the same farmers that were surprised Pikachu facing when Trump essentially screwed them again with his trade war against China. Yeah, the copycat candidates are an attack strategy called cloning. That is good to know. Weirdly, he screwed Trump screwed farmers in his last term as well. Yeah, with the same thing. He tried to screw them over with the trade war with China. Maybe there's some chemical in the pickup truck interiors that caused memory loss. Yeah. The copycatting was the attack strategy. The copycats are agents of AIPAC. I mean, this is a good point. I didn't think about it in that way. But yeah, that's a fair assessment of that, because I mean, it worked, right? Regardless of what you feel about the progressive candidate, and you know, them being not exactly perfect on everything. Yeah, that is interesting, and a good note, right? A good note to also put down if you see this in the next time around. People who own commonly leveraged by debt, notwithstanding vast tracts of land, machinery, etc., have sufficient to produce enough to employ not for themselves but also the labor of others, turns out part of the bourgeoisie, however petite or not, as the case may be. Also, there's something in the interior of my house that caused me to get distracted in the middle of writing a sentence. When they go bankrupt, all their farms should be given to a responsible hand like the People's Secretary of Agriculture, Kowalski. 100%. I would be in favor of that. About 15% of fertilizer imports to the U.S. are from the Middle East, and about half the global supply of the key ingredient, urea, comes from the region, along with 30% of ammonia, according to the American Farm Bureau Federation. When the ports start raising their nitrogen prices due to the conflict, due to shipping concerns, that directly affects me here on the farm. But it could be worse, as some farmers may not be able to obtain fertilizer at any price, said Zippy Duvall, president of the American Farm Bureau Federation. We're being told that many of our farmers that haven't pre-ordered their fertilizer and paid for it may not even obtain the fertilizer that they're going to need during the season or for spring planting. This is why the situation is so serious. Fantastic. Harriot, a cotton, corn, and peanut farmer who also leads the South Carolina Farm Bureau, said there isn't enough fertilizer stockpiled in warehouses to meet demand in the coming months. It really is a dire situation that our farmers are facing. Even before the current spikes in prices, other factors in recent years have led to high fertilizer costs, starting with the war between Ukraine and Russia, which blocked access to raw materials and increased natural gas prices. China also cut phosphate exports as it focused more on domestic needs. The latest factor worsening those existing supply issues, which means that even if the Iran war was resolved, fertilizer prices won't likely quickly fall, said Jackie Fakta, a farm supply economist for the creditor CoBank. There's going to be a tail to this that's going to take a time for everything to get back everything turned back on and sent back out. And then there's the time that it takes for shipments from the Middle East to reach the US, typically 30 to 45 days to reach the port of New Orleans. Some fertilizers are already stored in the US and can meet demands amid the shortage of Middle East imports, but at some point those supplies will run out or will run low. We don't quite know when it's going to shake. We don't quite know how it's going to shake out, said Nancy Martinez, the Director of Public Policy, Trade, and Biotechnology for the National Corn Growers Association. Nitrogen and phosphate-based fertilizers are largely produced domestically, which helps a little bit, said Anne Vimeo, a professor of economics at the University of Iowa. But again, energy prices are an input, so even if you're producing in the US, if your cost of inputs go up, then it's going to be an increase in price to farmers who want to buy it. Yep, bankrupt farmers to buy their land for freedom cities. Soaring oil prices could also result in higher food prices given the increased cost of diesel needed to transport products to grocery stores and petroleum products used in plastic packaging, said Chad Hart, an economics professor at Iowa State University. I mean, we're doing great, folks. Look how awesome, okay? Look how fantastic things are going, okay? Hey, MAGA, is the gas prices good? How's the gas prices? How's them price of eggs, huh? How's them price of eggs? However, the increased fertilizer prices shouldn't significantly lead to grocery store increases, even as they put a crimp in farmers' profit. That's because on-farm costs are only a small part of what consumers pay at the supermarket. The Trump administration said it has taken steps to ease the cost of fertilizer, including moving to increase fertilizer imports from Venezuela, from which U.S. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins said a huge step that puts farm security and farmers first. Again, none of that would be necessary. None of that would be necessary if we didn't start a war with Iran. So yeah. In a statement, the Department of Agriculture also notes that it previously announced a $12 billion in one-time payments to help farmers offset losses, primarily due to the tariffs, which I thought was supposed to be a good thing. I was told, I was told that the tariffs would bring in so much money, and a net positive on the economy. That appears to be untrue, as it turns out. So much so that we needed to spend $12 billion of taxpayer money to bail out the farmers that, incidentally, a lot of them voted for Trump because they got screwed by his tariff policy. In a statement, the USDA also said that it provided more than $30 billion in additional aid to farmers since January of 2025. The agency noted its support for a more competitive fertilizer market would ultimately lower prices. Yeah, how are we going to save money on tariffs if we're just giving it away to farmers? Yeah, which all of this is so stupid. All of it. FODCA, the CoBank, said the $12 billion doesn't go far for farmers, with a payment of $44 per corn acre, when the USDA estimates about $900 per acre for cost of production for the average U.S. farmer. Yeesh. Yikes. Close polls within the margin of error, a hallmark of fraud. Real results are decisive in one direction or another. No, not necessarily. In a very polarized country like this, it's not really uncommon, especially like the way that the system is built. We only have two parties, and the country doesn't swing like fully one way or another, right? It's just never gonna be like that. I mean, like, you'll have like a 10-point swing, which would be massive, but really, with such a setup like this, it's not gonna play out like that. There's no way. There's just no way that's gonna play out like that in this way. Just based on like how people are. Definitely a hallmark of a health and more rational of all possible economies that despite all the technological progress and all else, something as basic as producing enough food to feed the mouths that exist reliably and actually getting it to those mouths remains a chronic problem. Fuck the first condition globally certainly isn't even clear as fulfilled. Old Hal Hooten, welcome. Yeah. We're doing great. Still, farm bankruptcies remain rare, with only 315 last year, a tiny percentage of the nearly 1.9 million farms nationally, and prices for the nation's two largest crops, corn and soybeans, have been climbing recently. Tom Waters, who farms about 5,000 acres of corn, soybean, and wheat east of Kansas City, said the increase of fertilizer prices along with other costs makes it tougher to make a profit when crop prices are so low. The margins get smaller and smaller, so we just have to really work to trim our costs and be as frugal as we can, but still provide the soil and crop what it needs to grow and produce. Yeah, solid. You voted for it. If you end up selling the farm, I couldn't care less. What I don't want is my tax money bailing them out, not one dime. Yep. It's literally just that profit, power, maximizing the actual existence of ruling class and served by that so that they let the useless to them eaters starve. And just invent veils of plausible deniability to obfuscate their direct involvement, often not so benign neglect. Yep. And maintaining the conditions that not only feed people, that not only don't feed people, but actively deny them any practical means of feeding themselves. Yep. I'm still 28 minutes behind current. Gotcha. No worries. I'm sure you'll catch up before, or as stream ends. I'm sure you'll catch up. Again, more things that point to everything being fine. TSA officials warned that some airports could shut down if officers call sick climb, stating this is a serious situation. They're not motivated by that, which is why if it's not policy outcome reflected in the outcomes of their states take. Yep. Malign neglect is the essence of neoliberalism. Yeah. Wolfland subscribing with the tier 1 sub. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It was the best of times and it was the worst of times. I heard that Trump made fun of the Venezuela after they kicked Team USA's ass in the World Baseball Classic. That's funny. Acting Deputy TSA Administrator Adam Stahl said the agency is concerned about the growing number of sick calls among TSA officers, which is leading to long security lines at the airports across the country. If the call rate does climb, there could be scenarios where we may have to shut down airports. This is a serious situation. We're doing great, folks. Best for billionaires, worse for everyone else. True. Stahl said the situation will get worse the longer the agency and the Department of Homeland Security don't receive funding. This will not get better. Good stuff. Hundreds of TSA officers have quit while the 50,000 who are going to work are living without pay. Our people are hurting, Stahl said. We have individuals sleeping in their cars, drawing blood to afford to pay for gas to get to work, which gas is pretty expensive. Man, everything's so great, man. So great. Airport closures, however, did not seem imminent as of early Wednesday, a scenario which is more plausible at small airports. TSA sick calls have been surging since officers missed the paycheck Friday due to the month-long partial government shutdown. Monday saw the most yet, with 10% of officers nationwide calling out, 5 times more than a typical day. In Atlanta, over 37% of TSA officers called out sick on Monday, according to the agency, closing one of the checkpoints at the world's busiest airport. Yeah. That's fantastic. Malaya is a neo-fatalist and neo-Francoist. Yeah. Wait, there's leftists on YouTube, like actual leftists, not liberal ones? Well, liberals aren't leftists, but yeah, there's several of us. There's several of us. Lord Pettybeard, Prettybeard, I mean, TSA has always been security theater, so them quitting isn't as bad as you think. I mean, like, only to the extent that they, like, seriously, might, consider shutting down, airports over this. That's pretty bad. Of course. You know, these people are also, yeah, it's bad that people are losing jobs, of course. It's bad that people, aren't getting paid and rely on this, right, given the circumstances. But yeah, I mean, obviously TSA is kind of, they kind of not really do anything as far as, like, actually preventing, terrorism or whatever, but, you know, whatever. It is pretty bad in the sense that they may or may not close airports over this and whatnot. Rare algorithm mythic pool. Well, welcome, Choco. Wait times topped 2 hours in Atlanta on Tuesday and were at least 103 minutes at the George Bush Intercontinental Airport in Houston. As staffing drops, more TSA screening lanes will close, and from there, entire checkpoints, making lines and wait times even longer. Are you actual ML or just Trotsky? Neither. I'm your like lowercase L leftist, anti-capitalist. Not a fan of capitalism. As staffing stops, more TSA screening lines will close, and yes, we'll make lines and wait times even longer. 3 of the 6 checkpoints at Philadelphia Airport will be closed on Wednesday. So we're doing great, folks. Look at this. We're doing fantastic. We're doing fantastic. The Finnish Bolshevik is on YouTube. I have not seen them. Yeah, there is leftist content on YouTube. Maybe not like that many like leftist live streamers. But they're certainly out there. Meanwhile, I just want to put gas in my car. Sheesh. We do exist. I support leftist capitalism. In all circumstances, the jury found in favor of Afroman. Anarchy's communism's ultimate form. I do subscribe to a lot of anarchist thinking, anarcho-syndicalist thinking. Big fan. I'm a capital socialist. Shall we do a litmus test? No. Why is a litmus test so important? What do you think about tankies? To my understanding, like tankies as a broad, just kind of just as a broad group. I'm like usually not 100% on board with tankies as like how they perceive themselves online, because like I know that tanky gets thrown around a lot, but like just generally speaking, like I don't necessarily like agree with everything that they have to say, but like my job isn't like to go out here and try to fight tankies or other like leftists, right? I'm not here to fight people. Not really. Not at this point. Not at this juncture. Thank you. Just mean anything to the left of Vosh. I support capitalism that doesn't contain captive markets. Healthcare shouldn't be profit driven because being alive is a captive. Being alive is a captive market. We're trying to build a left, already fighting about ultra leftism. Yeah, I'm not here to fight. To define a movement, identify the allies and the enemies, and marshal it effectively. Yeah, that's my point is like, look, the people that I need to be active right now are the people that are actively anti-fascist. That's the people that I need to be active right now. I need people that are explicitly and wholeheartedly anti-fascist. I need people that are explicitly anti-fascist, and I need those people to start uniting. And I mean like literally anti-fascist, not like, you know, pretend anti-fascist. I mean like, look, you and I recognize that there's a fascist regime in power right now. These people are the problem, and the real issue is the real issue is the real issue is fascism, and this top-down system. A leftist who's not engaging in leftist infighting, what are you, a unicorn? Yeah, I'm not about to have like this fight. And anti-anarchism is a counter-revolutionary distraction from anti-fascism. I mean, like I said, I subscribe to a lot of anarcho-syndicalist ideas, but yeah, there's caveats here. Being anti-capitalist and being anti-fascist, and we need those people to kind of wake up. The normies that aren't the normies, the people that just aren't really politically active, but they are fundamentally anti-fascist. Those people need to wake up, and we need to spread class consciousness to try to unite those people and get them to kind of move to the left, right, at the extent that we can. The fatal flaw of capitalism is that at some point oligarchs will grow too powerful to be contained. Thinking you can avoid this is simply wishful thinking. Yeah, eventually, no matter how long it takes, eventually it will go. My stance is that we can start fighting about our different left ideologies once we beat back the fascists. Until then, we need to focus on what we agree on. I tend to agree. I tend to agree. Essentially, I need fascism to be defeated. Because if not, then we're all cooked. Like, you know that, right? Like, just to kind of piggyback off your comment, Anna. Like, if we don't win, if we don't beat back fascism, we're all cooked. Okay. You know, like, just to be clear, like if we don't stand up and if we don't win and lock hands in solidarity with the working class, with our working class, we're all cooked, regardless of what leftism or what flavor of leftism or what, oh, I'm a Maoist, Dengist, whatever. I don't care. I don't care. We're all equally on the menu, if that makes sense, right? Regardless of what you feel about whatever flavor of leftism. Um, to the fascists, there is no difference between a SOCDEM anarchist and an ML. Correct. If by pragmatism you mean lesser evil, that's how we got here in the first place. I mean, the pragmatism comes with uniting the left. A perfect example was these a perfect example was these primaries, right? Harmless Monkey, welcome. Yeah, there'll be nothing left, literally, exactly. There's no meaningful plan to beat back fascism, and if we completely unite tomorrow, what are we gonna actually do with that? Presumably overthrow fascism. Do you believe in critical support? I don't know what that means. Basically, too many well-meaning lives just still think fascism is when super conservative government, which is, remotely speaking, definitionally kind of true, I guess. Yep. But yeah, the root cause is capitalism. Ground level news, welcome. And so another episode of What Woke a Difficult Truth is ending. I'm investigating his MS contract right now. Like critical support to Iran. I don't know what that means. Meaning, like, do I support Iran? I mean, Iran has a right to defend itself, right? That doesn't mean that the Iranian government is good, but I'm more interested in I'm more interested in the illegality of my government doing illegal stuff and killing civilians. Critical support meaning supporting the fight towards the American empire, even if Iran's regime itself is not ML. Well, I mean, like, it's not... The point being is that the American attack on Iran was illegal and indefensible, regardless of what I feel about Iran, right? Like, that's what I'm saying. America's decision to attack Iran unprovoked is illegal, and they killed a lot of civilians. They killed children. Regardless of what my feelings are of the Iranian government. Yeah, just deal with the fascists without labels or titles. The problem I have with leftists is that they have goals, but they don't have anything they want to do to bring those goals to fruition. It's always super vague. Yeah, I mean, well, the thing is, like, we have like no cohesive coalition, essentially. And that's kind of like the problem. The Chinese ambassador is demanding the apprehension and removal of the Epstein class as a precondition for something. I mean, that would be cool. I'm leftist Chinese, by the way. Happy to hear the West still has people who support leftist ideas. Well, of course, there's always going to be leftists, right? The point being is that we need to the point being is that we need to kind of coalesce, right? Here, at least here in the United States, and understand what the problem is here. We're giving us very... I'm not a Marxist, Karl Marx energy right now. You have specific goals, but they vary by organization. Yeah, the point being is that, like, we need to have a we need to have we need to coalesce, essentially. Specific goals they have are almost always band-aids. I think coalition could appear if there's actually something that actually anything leftists wanted to specifically achieve in terms of not just putting band-aid on things. Yeah, no. You can have democratic socialism. Coalition building is the goal. Diversity of backgrounds within those coalitions is really helpful. Yep. How many millions of people just not paying rent would it take? Not even all of them. Yep. People want democratic socialism, but is there anyone writing about how to transition the U.S. government into that type of system? Right. Like I see what you're saying. I give you a fraction of the people simultaneously not paying rent would be an immediate crisis for capitalists. Yeah. Yeah. What is the point of building a coalition? What do you do once you have a coalition? Essentially, I think that it should be launched at specific goals. Like, for example, if you have a big enough coalition, you can you can achieve whatever policy goal, right? Like, for example, Medicare for all. If you have a big enough coalition, you can launch that at that goal, as an example. But you need a big enough coalition. I think leftists should focus on the banner of anti-war, especially the leftists on the West Imperial Core, revive the anti-war movement. I mean, the left by definition is pretty anti-war, especially if that war doesn't have a purpose. By U.S. standards, UK is socialist? No. No, not even close. China isn't democratic socialism as fascist. I wouldn't categorize China as fascist. Not really. Anti-war movement on the West is dead. The leftists on the West should campaign on anti-war slogans first to gain momentum before launching into another popular idea. I don't know about that. The left is already pretty anti-war, as it is. Yeah, fascists does not have a strong government. Coalitions have more momentum, reach, and power than individual groups. Correct. And exactly. So if we do have a coalition, it should be generated. It should be yeeted at whatever we want, right? Like Medicare for all as an example. So from my point of view, a federal law that just limits the maximal corporate pay 10 times the corporate minimum wage should be a great start. I disagree. I think a lot of the American public is anti-war. At least anti-war with Iran. Well, that's because leftists have an organization problem by definition, precisely because if you're coming up against the existing mode of production, you're coming up against all of the superstructure supporting that mode of production. You're trying to swim against the current, as it were. It doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do when you're about to go over a effing waterfall. Yep. Not trying to be annoying for real. But the left literally has no plans. Coalition building is one thing, but firsthand being in a coalition with people does not mean producing results. That's true. We would just need well, I mean, we have as a left leaning people, we have like basic stuff that we all agree on. And I think that if we wanted to tackle something, we could. But that's up to us, and that is up to us to try to introduce class consciousness. If I had no money, I would be housed. Yeah, well, we don't have that much safety nets here. The president of a corporation could never make more than 10 times the lowest paid individual of the same corp. Oh, okay, that's interesting. I see what you're saying. Some people confuse fast and authoritarian. I'm no expert on China, so I can't say if it's more authoritarian than say the Trump regime, but it's definitely not fascist. We're swimming against the current with no plans, no resources, no acceptance of that situation or engagement on how to work our way around that before global warming takes us. Yeah, that's true. But I think that we do have plans as far as like how leftists believe. But yeah, the situation isn't great. I think we also need to focus on empowering people because, to be honest, the average person, even after being persuaded, sees the light of center, will not act on those beliefs in any way. Yeah, we have to give people a reason to go out and do stuff, right? And that's kind of our job. We have to inspire people to do stuff. It's not just talking about it, but you also have to engage with your community, right? And engage with people that may not be leftists. Because it can't, like, just leftists alone in the United States is not going to be enough. Like, it's just not. Gotta run. Thanks for the stream. See y'all later. Appreciate it. Multi-front wars for resources a bad sign. I'm hoping it's just greed. Companies and Trump's here. Like, it would be great if we had Cuba's nickel and cobalt for free. Here's $1 million, sir. Yeah, well. It's really a matter of beating these fascists as soon as humanly possible. We need to beat these fascists as humanly quickly as possible. At the past, liberal success hijack anti-war movement, but this one leftist should be one leading its charge on mainstream public on the West. Outlawing joint stock companies and limited liability corporations might be a good idea. Yep. Now we need the center, but they are mostly on our side. Kind of. I mean, they just need to be able to pick a side, right? Also, continental US has so much shit in it already. What do we need other country stuff? We can't do everything, but yeah. Nonprofit healthcare. Give me one day. One day. Alright, folks. I gotta get out of here. It's about 7 o'clock. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you for your support. You guys, what makes with this stream go. Wolf Glenn, thank you for the subscription. Yes, I'm getting up right now. Take this as me getting up, okay? Because I'm about to get up. Thank you for the stream. Have a good one. Appreciate it. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Michael Hesser, for modding the chat, and thank you, Ladybug, as well. Appreciate it. Folks, if you want to support the channel, there are many different ways of doing so. Check out all the things and all the links, and all the things and the doodads and the subscriptions and the likes, you know, the likes and the comments and the shares and whatnot. It's your support that makes this channel go. And one of the best ways of doing that is spreading the word. Spreading the word, folks. Liberals never succeeded at anything, Stalin and Mao won, but not Roosevelt or Churchill. I mean, like, liberals, well, I guess depends on what your definition of success is. It's just a matter of, I guess, perspective. In the long run, they kind of, in the long run, right, as history has shown, liberals kind of screwed us, right? Kind of screwed us, and now we're here. Did you hear about the new Black Panthers in the United States? If they can come back, then leftist anti-war movement can also do that. Yeah, but my argument is that, like, the left is already pretty much anti-war, right? Like, we're already there. Eisenhower is a liberal by today's standard. Yeah, of course. Because he was. Yeah, success was always temporary. Yeah, like the liberalism has given us the position that we're in, and now we're here, and now we're here. And now we're here. The chickens have come. The chickens have come home to roost. Great show, chat as always. Sorry I missed the end. Got a call. No problem. Poggers. All right, gotta get out of here, folks. Thank you all for being here. As always, folks, please stay safe. Thank you, Flow Snake. I appreciate it. Thank you, as always, folks. Please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one about 5 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. See ya. All right, folks, hang tight. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.